Welcome, everybody. This is Lee, host of Lee's podcast. Welcome back. Today I have a special guest, one of my friends growing up. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Tou Yeng. I met Lee when I was a youth camper when I was like 12 or 13, and he was actually one of my advisors, one of the counselors there. And so, yeah, we knew each other for a long, long time.
Yeah, you're just not... You're a pastor, though, right?
Well,
or do you want we'll dive
I
into,
used to be.
We'll dive into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But everybody knows you as Pastor Yang.
Yep.
But we can talk about that a little bit because I haven't like caught up with you for a while, and so I just want to make sure our listeners, maybe friends or family, knows where you're at, and what you're doing in life right now. But you're right. I saw. Do you know that I found a picture of us? You were in my group. I was your group leader.
Yep.
And we took a picture by the dock at Camp Lucerne a long time ago. I'm not sure if you remembered.
Yeah. I think I have the same picture. I'm pretty sure of it. Yeah. Good times.
And your sisters, you have 3 older sisters that are closer to my age that I remembered that we kind of hung out and did things with. And so we also did recently, well, not recently, but the last couple years ago, like 3 or 4, maybe 5 years ago, we were part of a youth group under United Methodist. And I was the human director. And what was your title?
I was just basically a pastor. I think I was a speaker as well.
Were you the Vine director too at one point?
Yeah. Vine director. Yep.
So good. Well, I'm glad you came in today. But first, let's talk about the reason why you're here, because I think you have a very interesting story to share. And I know who you are. And so, let's start with, you used to be a pastor and you're not anymore. Can you kind of share with us your journey up to the point of when you kind of left? How did it all started for you?
Well, my story is very very American, I guess you could say. I grew up Christian. My parents were sponsored by a Lutheran family, and so I grew up Lutheran and actually went to a Lutheran elementary school. And then at the same time, though, at that time, I was living in Wausau, in Wausau, Wisconsin, right in the middle. And there was a large Roman Catholic congregation there. So I was going to a Lutheran school at the same time going to a Catholic church, right? And so
wait, your sponsors were Lutheran.
Yep.
But you went to a Catholic church.
Yep.
How did that happen?
Well, because in Wausau, this is where no. Because my parents, they actually when they went to school in Laos, they went to a Catholic school.
Oh, okay.
So they were surrounded by Catholicism all their life.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so we were in Wausau. We went to a Catholic church until I was about 12, and then we became United Methodist because one of our pastors, Pastor Nalu, he became one of my cousins. He became a pastor. We're like, well, he's our cousin, so we gotta support him. So that's where we went. And so throughout my life, I've been part of the church, whether academically or religiously or some other ways. I held a lot of positions, even as a youth and as a college student. And then later on, I heard the call of God, so I went to theological school. I graduated from there, and I became a pastor about maybe over a decade now. If you look at my time in Chicago as well, I served in Korean churches, American churches, churches.
As a pastor, a full-time pastor or a part-time pastor?
Both.
Both? Okay.
I also served at your church in Milwaukee as well as a youth pastor, and so I was just all over the place. It was a great time.
Now, you mentioned Korea. I didn't even know you served at a Korean church. I think you had. Oh, yeah, you did. You shared with me once that you were a pastor at a Korean church, and there was a parishioner that didn't like you. Can you share that story, or maybe not?
Well, I won't use any names. I won't say if it was a boy or a girl or whatever. But then, that's just life, right? No matter what job you do, whether you work at a gas station or whether you're a pastor or a teacher, it's always going to be people that don't like you for whatever reason. I never found out why. But then, and for a couple of years, it sort of let me down. But then after a while, I was like, oh, there's just people who are like this. And so
you
just let it go.
Yeah.
Just let it go. Yeah.
Did it bug you, though?
Yeah. Of course, well, it bugged me because I had to see that person every weekend, and one time I actually it was very awkward. I had to pick up that person and go to church. I mean, my church was like a good 35 minutes away. And so it was really odd, but then, I try to treat that person as I would like to be treated.
Yes.
And whether that person accepted it or not, that's up to them and God.
And eventually she came around, didn't she, or no?
Well, I told you, I just said I wouldn't say it was a girl or a boy.
Sorry.
No, that's kidding. But then eventually, no, I don't think she. I gave her an olive branch and said, I don't know what I did, man, and I'm sorry. And she never said that she was sorry, or she never really explained why. But then again, that's up to her and God, and I just let bygones be bygones.
But I think what you did was a perfect example of what we all should be doing. When you find that someone doesn't like you, you continue to treat them with respect. You continue to treat them with how you want to be treated. For a quick example, I know of a person who went through that recently, and this person was being bombarded with criticism. Not all the time, but somehow it was always directed towards this person. And then this person not eventually, but somehow just connected with the aggressor. And I'm not sure where they are, but I told this person, you know what you did was perfect. You know why? Because you're showing this person, this aggressor, that no matter what they do to you, you're still going to treat them as a human being, and you're going to respect them, and you're going to do what you need to do to help them, or to do whatever that they, whatever it is, like to develop that relationship. And I think that's what we should do. I mean, not just in church, but in life in general, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that I came to that conclusion really tough, because when I was a teenager, I was pretty hardcore when it came to religious stuff, and I just wanted to show people, and I still got a little of that aggression in me. It comes out every once in a while, but then I make sure at the end of the day that I say, hey, even though you and I disagree, let's have lunch sometime. Let's just, beer's your thing. Let me buy you a beer. I want you to know that even though you and I may not agree on certain things, that doesn't mean we can't become friends. I mean, God in his relationship with human beings, so it wasn't always smooth, but then God still loved humanity, even though humanity didn't always love God. And so whether they accept it or not, like I said, it's really up to them. But then you got to sometimes make that step forward first.
Okay. Now let's go back. How old were you when you decided, you know what, I'm going to take this path and serve God?
Well, I think I was about 17, 18. Lee, you were there for most of the time, but then, it was pretty rough between the first and second generation Hmong people. I mean, language-wise, culturally, even religiously, and how people work their faith into their life. So I was like, well, I want to be that bridge. When you're like in your early 20s and your teens, you think you can do everything, right? And so I had that in my heart. I didn't actually start to go to seminary though until I graduated, and then that was about maybe when I was about 24, 25 or something.
Oh, you graduated college?
Yep. I graduated at UW-Milwaukee.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And then you went to seminary school after that in Chicago, right?
Yep, Chicago. I actually worked for a couple years just to pay off my bills.
Yeah.
And in Wausau, then I went to seminary after that.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier that you served as a pastor, a youth pastor. Were you a senior? Like, you were a senior pastor. I'm not sure. Like, are there multiple pastors at some of the churches you were at, or were you the only one there?
Oh no. Many of the churches that I served, I was the associate pastor or the youth pastor.
Okay, all right. And then with all the different, you have the non-Hmong churches, you have the Hmong churches, and then you have the Korean one. Those are all the churches the different churches that you served at, right, with your parishioners. Are there any difference between those three churches, or the parishioners or the members of those churches?
Yeah, I'd like to just first say that my experience is an experience of all pastors around.
It's just yours alone.
Yeah, just mine, because every church, it matters where they are. So many of the churches that I served were well established and been there for decades.
Yeah.
It's definitely different if you're doing a church start. I mean, the Korean church is a church start. But I think the main difference is that it's just more culturally than anything. All of them, they come with the difficulties, like, how they relate to God and just personally and stuff like that. I think in the Hmong church, I think the most difficult thing about the Hmong church was we have a lot of pride. And then that makes forgiveness and forgiving very difficult. And so that's why I think Hmong churches, they focus on salvation. Because we can say, well, God forgives us, and well, of course, it's hard to say that I want to forgive, I think, quote unquote white churches, not everybody there was white, but American churches.
I call them non-Hmong churches.
There you go, non-Hmong churches.
Yeah.
Even though some of them have some Hmong people in it too. True.
Yeah.
I think the thing that they have is experience. Because many of them have been there for decades. Many of the members, have been there and the family has been there for, generations.
Yeah.
And so Christianity is embedded in them. So and this idea of commitment, hard work, and even forgiveness and helping out the pastors, it's there. And so, it's very comforting. It's very forgiving. At the same time, though, me being Hmong, going to a non-Hmong church, of course, you face like racism and you face prejudice.
I was going to ask. That was my next question. Have you experienced those?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, when I remember going in, and I'm part of the United Methodist Church, and before you take part of a church, you actually get interviewed by a council, right? And so one of the councils are like, "Well, can you speak English?" Or yeah, we were really worried that we couldn't understand you. I was like, you don't speak to many Hmong people at all, because, that's when I was like 35. And of course, speaking to you and I, we speak perfect English, right?
Yeah.
We probably speak English better than Hmong. But then, there's still those ideas. Even one time I was visiting a parishioner, and then later on, one of the leaders in the church was like, "Did you know that so almost called the police on you?"
Seriously?
Yeah. Guess they thought that you were robbing their house. You didn't know that you were the new pastor?
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, because that place is all white, right? So, there's this one Asian guy with a backpack on, it's like, oh, he's robbing the place, But thank goodness they didn't. They just talked to one of my other parishioners, and they're like, no, that's the new pastor. Don't be afraid of him. He's actually a pretty nice guy. And so, yeah. I faced stuff like that. Even one time, a parishioner said that he told one of the council members, if my mom knew that there's a Hmong pastor here, she'd be turning in her grave.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so no, that's pretty rough, right? But then later on, I went up to him and said, hey, let's just hang out. You like the Packers, I like the Packers. Let's just watch a game together. So we watched a game together. After a while, he finally found out that, hey, he's not that bad.
Yeah, you're a cool guy after all.
Yeah. And I found out that, yeah, this guy's not that bad either. He's actually a pretty cool guy. And so every once in a while, he would make me, he liked to bake, stuff like that. So he'd give me pudding, and I give him egg rolls. It's all good.
See, that's similar to the story we shared earlier, right?
Yeah.
With a parishioner not liking you just because of the fact that, maybe who you are or how you talk or how you look or just, whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, how do you kill that kind of mentality, is with kindness, or continue to show them the respect that you will hope that they show you, in return.
I think a lot of that, I think it's been sort of lost in today's Christianity a lot of times. Seeing each other as brothers and sisters in one creation. All of a sudden, Lee's not just Lee guy from 30 years ago. He's my brother.
Uh-huh.
And I treat my brothers very differently than I do a stranger outside, because even though my brothers and I, we argue, I want to forgive them. I want to reconcile with them. You treat everybody like a brother and sister, then all of a sudden reconciling is not something, it's not even a choice. It's something that you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's been sort of lost these days with all the politics and all the arguing. Yeah.
I agree. One of my questions to you was, what is the state of Christianity nowadays with the whole political environment that we're in now, and a lot of these crime or a lot of these hatred or whatever it is like in the name of God or I don't believe that. What they do is they mix their political beliefs with their religious one, and it becomes mixed, in my opinion, right? So let's say I vote for this president, and this president, his idea lines up with me. I'm a Christian, right? And all of a sudden, my Christianity, my what I believe and how I grew up being a Christian, all of a sudden becomes that political person's viewpoint. And then now you're doing X, Y, and Z, which is against what I would think Christians would do. Would you agree?
Well, maybe in the United States, but we got to remember that Christianity in like China and Africa is definitely different from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And so I think that's also been lost too. That we think that my experience of Christianity is like this, so it's got to be like this in the rest of the world. But it's really it's not.
Yeah.
And we just sort of think that our life is a reflection of the world, which is not.
Yeah.
You asked me earlier, what's the state of Christianity in the world? That's a huge question. I mean,
it is.
Yeah.
Let's focus on. Well, I should have been specific. What's the state of Christianity here in the United States? Because when we're talking about the political environment that we're in now, everything that goes on that we watch in the news specifically is here in the United States, right? So, I mean, what do you think?
Well, it's just still a huge question.
It is, right?
I mean, I served in places where
there's no real answer.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, it really matters where you are.
Yeah,
and then it really matters. Even like the denominational ties, or are you just you just call yourself a Christian, or else do you go to church every week? You know, I mean, I think both of those are still Christian, but then definitely their lives are different. But then I do agree with you that there are people in the United States that use the Christianity not as a place of hope, not as a place of forgiveness, not a place of faith, but then they use it as more of a political leaning and to get people to do their bidding. And so I definitely think there's just some aspect of that, and at least in the United States.
Well, we're talking specifically in the United States. To me, they seem to use Christianity as a justification for whatever they want to do or decisions that they make.
Yeah.
So, for example, they go into whatever, right, and they commit something that they're not supposed to out of the name of God. Well, no.
Yeah.
That's not what Christians do. That's what he does or she does, whatever it is, And whenever I see these things, I'm like, here's the other thing, okay? And I know we're kind of jumping all over the place, but for me, the last couple of years, okay, has been a turnoff because of this whole political environment and how it's associated with Christianity to some extent. Now, I know not every Christians are like this, right? Not every Christians are extremes, right? But somehow there's always these extremists, and not all extremists are Christian. But to me, again, I'm just talking about myself. I kind of associate those in my head. I'm like, man, it's such hard to watch, and listen, being a Christian. So let's talk about church, right? Let's talk about church, and let's talk about the number of people going to church. What do you think? Has that declined? Has that gone up? Has that remained the same? I read an article, I think it was 2021 last year, and I'm not sure if it was because of COVID, but there's been a decline in with people going to church. Do you find that to be true, obviously, or not? Or
even before COVID hit, being part of the Methodist Church, we were talking about the decline of attendance, and I think a lot of people automatically say, well, that means that people are Christian. That means that they're losing their faith in God. No, church is not God. God is not church.
Repeat that again.
Church is not God, and God is not church. God has been here long before the church was even made. And so I think a lot of people, the reason why they're not going to church is not because they're losing faith. It's because they're trying to find something more. Trying to find something like bigger in their life. I mean, early on, I didn't complete my whole story. I'm not a pastor no more. Okay. I actually, quote unquote, quit being a pastor 6 months ago, and part of that is because the weight of COVID. But there's like 30 people that passed away in our church.
Wow, the church that you were at.
Yeah, it was a small community.
Wow,
but then there's an old community, and we have a lot of elderly homes and stuff like that around there, and I just need to get away from that. I just need to maybe do something else because my skin wasn't as thick as I thought, but then going back, I mean, the reason why you see all these people like, all these Christian singers. All of a sudden, they're like, I gotta rethink my faith, or I gotta rethink my life.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that they lost faith. That means they're looking for God in their life. They're trying to reassess what their religious thought in their life is all about. They're not losing faith. They're actually trying to gain it. And I think people are so afraid to say that because then they're like, oh no, that means everybody's going to leave the church. No, not actually. They might be gone for a little while, but then usually they come back. And when they come back, it's richer than ever. This is famous pastor. His name is Francis Chan, right? You probably heard about him before. I mean, after a while, I mean, he had to rethink his whole life. I think he took like maybe a year off of the church or something like that, sometime, and then he came back. His faith was stronger than ever before, right? And so don't look at this as totally negative, because you look at the numbers, right? And you ask people, are you Christian? The number may be going down. But then when you ask people, are you religious? It's still about 70%. That's an overwhelming, a lot, like 65, 70%. And so people still believe that there's a greater God, there's a greater creator, or there's a greater spirit. They're just looking for something, And I think the reason why people aren't going to church is because church has lost that something. We're trying to live like, we're 1970 and 1980s, 1960s, and we're not. We're not facing the problems, and we're telling people, you gotta listen to me. Don't think, just listen to me. But then these days with like this podcast and everything, you gotta think. People are thinking all the time.
Correct.
And so what you gotta tell them is, hey, you gotta take what I said, but you got to also learn as well, and that's okay. We got to make that okay. Once we say that that's okay, then people are like, because I don't have to hold all these ideals that this guy is telling me. It's okay if I disagree with him, but then yet we're still friends. That's okay.
And I find that to be true. Because obviously I'm not sure if you know, but I stopped going for a few years now. And that's simply because of the fact that the church that I was going to didn't appeal to me anymore. Doesn't mean that I lost my faith. It's just that it just doesn't work for me. And that's the great thing about religious freedom. I can go to any church I want to. I can go to the one down the street. I can go to wherever I want to. And so I say that because going back to being Hmong, right? You know where I'm going with this?
I think so.
Being Hmong, you kind of go back to the church that that you kind of grew up in, and there's an expectation that you go back, and there's an expectation that you go and support and help, and there's an expectation that, hey, that is the church that we grew up in, so you have to go back. And so I don't necessarily believe that anymore, because I tell people, and I've told people this too, whenever I go back and they say, oh, I haven't seen you for a while, how come, did you lose your way? I'm like, no, my faith is my faith, my walk is my walk, and it's none of your business except for mine and God, right? And so I tell them, don't worry about where I'm going, worry about where my faith is at. Agreed? So even if you don't see me anymore, right, I would like for them to say, hey, it's nice to see you, okay? And it's nice to see you here in the church, and that's it, I think that speaks more value than kind of like honing down, like just kind of pounding on the idea of, we need you to come back. We need you to come back. We need you to come back. Well, that's not going to work for me, It might have worked when I was younger and I had no choice, but not anymore,
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, when COVID hit, my last church, my senior pastor told me, hey, every day call 20 people. And so that's what we did, whether they come to church or not. And then this one person said, this is the first time a pastor has called me in about 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and then, like you said, even if they didn't come to church, not going to church, that meant so much to them. That meant so much more than a pastor preaching to them on Sunday. And so, yeah, it's just that intentional outreach.
So since we're talking about church, what purpose does a church serve, especially with this digital age that we're in, when I can just watch it online? Right? No. So the church that Christway that I go to, well, I can watch it online. Why do I need to go in? Is there I mean, obviously, I know I want your expertise. Is there an advantage to me going in than just watching it on YouTube? Because, it's being broadcast or going live on YouTube.
Oh, when people say church, usually they mean a building. I mean, me
Yes.
personally, church can be anywhere. I mean, here, let's say that we grab some other people and we decided to have service. That's just, I think that's a church as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think we were talking about church as more of a building, I guess you can say. I think the purpose of a church is just to give a place for people to go to. Because people do depend on the church to sort of get away from it all. That's why people spend 20, 30 hours in the church, even though they don't work there, because it's a place where they can serve. It's a place where they can just get away from things. It's a place where they meet their friends and family, But then, as you said, how about you don't need that? How about, you see your family, friends all the time? How about how about your church is at home, How about you can just go
On
look
YouTube
at it,
or-
YouTube or something like that. Well, still, there's still those people that do go, right? And so you still need to connect with them as well. You know what I mean? Just because you're far away doesn't mean that, just like we just talked about. Just because you're watching online and they're actually there at church doesn't mean you should sever those ties. You should just call them anyways, and just see how you do. I saw you on YouTube. You look great in that hat.
Yeah.
And I mean, so I think that's the importance of church as well. And of course, church as a bigger whole, though. I think the purpose of church is to give people hope. To let them know that there's more to life than just living and dying. That dying is not the end of all life, and that there's just greater and better things to come.
Yeah, and I would agree, but see, the funny thing is that's how we see it, and unfortunately, there are those that are older than us that doesn't see it like that, and they want us in church. I have to admit, sometimes I do go on YouTube and I do watch, and I watch for the sermon and I see them sing. I do what they need to do, regardless if it's an American church, or, non-Hmong church, or a Hmong church, So that's where I get my cup filled, and I watch it, and I can decide, okay, do I want to go in or not? And you're right. I've talked to people that they haven't gone to church for a while, and they want that connection, that people connection that you can't have over the internet. They want to be there. They want to see people. They want to interact. They want to have coffee. They want to shake hand. They want to have face-to-face discussion. And from what you said earlier, a physical or even a place to congregate, to be together, to worship, or to, I don't know, whatever that they do, right? Together is a place that some of them they need. And if that's what they're needing, go, right?
Yep, exactly.
So what are you doing now?
Well, me,
obviously you're not a pastor anymore. So should I call you Pastor Yang or?
You can just call me Tou.
But in our culture, you're gonna be called pastor regardless.
Yeah. But
you could be retired. You can be 80 and you haven't served for like years and tens of years, and we're still calling you Pastor Yang.
Well, even when I was a pastor, I told my friends, hey, if we meet out in the street, don't call me pastor. Just call me Tou. And we're in the church, that's fine. But then, like I tell people, just call me pastor, and so that the older generation gives me respect. It's not about really respect from you guys, But then when we're outside, we meet up at Walmart
or whatever.
Just call me Tou.
Well, okay, let's get it straight. Also, is it Tou Yeng, Tou or Yang?
Because
I've gotten so many. I think I asked him. Okay, it's Sifu Yang, right? Pastor Yang. Well, who's that? Oh, Sifu Tou Yeng. Oh yeah, we know him. So what's your legal name?
I mean now I guess you can say Yang, because that's how I sign my name these days. But
your legal name. What's on your driver's license?
Oh, Tou.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. For people who aren't Hmong, again, we gotta explain this. Tou actually means son.
Yeah.
And so like a young person's name, or as long as you have the Tou on it, it's sort of like it's like a red light. Like, oh, this person's not grown up yet. Even though I'm 40, my name's Tou. Oh, this guy's not grown up yet. So that's why when I became a pastor, I get rid of that Tou. I just told people to just call me Yang, and so that people would stop seeing me as a kid and see me as a grown up instead.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so that people understand.
I call you by both names.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. No, it's all good. I mean, we're friends, so I accept whatever.
Yeah. Or Yang or Tou, whatever. Now I know to call you without the pastor title.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine.
That's interesting. I have a friend I kind of grew up with, and we hung out. We didn't hang up that much, but I never thought that he'll become a pastor. Mm-hmm. It's kind of weird calling him pastor. Whatever his name is. And obviously, I'm not going to drop his name, but it's And so in this case, it's reversed. Now I'm just going to call you Tou.
No.
All right.
Yeah. That's fine.
So what are you doing now?
Basically, I'm just going back to school full time, helping out my brother look after his kids. Hopefully, I'll have a regular job by the summertime, and I'll just go out from there.
What are you going to school for?
I actually want to become a librarian.
Oh,
yeah, because it's sort of weird, right? But then you got to sort of understand my background. I'm a history major. And so I always like to read and research. At the same time, I also like to help the community. And so a librarian sort of hits all those bases.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you going to write a book?
Tell you the truth.
I think, yeah.
Dude, no, I'm not involved myself. I mean, like I love like lore. I mean, we just talked about like Star Wars before this.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm a total geek and nerd, and so yeah, I love that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Like I said, we're kind of jumping all over the place. I kind of want to go back to a more serious question because we were talking about church and people leaving the church, not leaving the church, but they're not engaging in going to a facility or a place. Maybe they're watching it online or whatever. Do you think there's a way to get people back into church, into a physical building, or do you think from here on out, because of the digital age, it's all online now for a lot of people?
Oh no, definitely. This place, I know a couple pastors that started new churches and everything, and they're bringing people in.
Okay,
it's just about the message, and I think now people are sort of hungering to get back together.
Yeah,
that's why you go to
especially after COVID, where we've been all separated so long. Like we want to go back and hang out with people again.
Exactly, and so yeah. That there's definitely chances. Yep.
Now, my other question would be, obviously, we grew up in a United Methodist church, right? And then you have your Baptists, your Catholics, all that stuff. I have two thoughts in my head, but first, you grew up Catholic.
Catholic Lutheran.
Catholic Lutheran? Okay. Yep. Is that any different than United Methodist? For those that, I don't know because I'm not, obviously, my wife is Catholic, right? And so, is there a big difference between Catholics and Catholic Lutheran is more closer in regards to what they do things than Catholic Lutheran and United Methodist or Baptist, right? Is there, what's the difference?
Well, there's a lot of branches of Methodism. I'm gonna be mainly just talking about the United Methodist Church.
We'll just talk about what we're.
But then United Methodist Church, the main focus is on grace, God's grace. That God basically wants everybody to be saved, and everybody can be saved. Right, and this grace has been given to us even before we were born, even before we were a twinkle in mom and dad's eyes. God's grace has been upon us ever since then, right? Ever since basically the beginning of time. And so for me, that's very comforting because of course, like other Christian denominations or beliefs, we also believe they were also sinful people, right? And to have this God who's given us his grace and saying that, hey, I love you no matter what, I want you guys to come back and believe in me, I think that's a very powerful message. Even if you don't believe in a God, I mean, just believing in a being like your parents or someone who you love, saying, "Hey, I don't care who you are, I just want you back." That's a really powerful image, and so that's an image I think the Methodists sort of want to bring. Other places, other denominations, they focus on forgiveness or on doing the right acts or doing the right things, right? But then we believe that in the Methodists, all we have to do is just believe that God is the creator of all things and that Jesus Christ sacrificed his life and greater things are yet to come.
Okay. Now, we mentioned earlier Catholic Lutheran. Is there does it deviate pretty much Is there a big deviation, or is that still all the same?
I think as time goes on, I believe that the denominations become more and more alike. You know, there's just certain ideas like, when people talk about the Roman Catholic Church, they talk about, they're wrong because they worship Mary and stuff like that. No, not really. You talk to the average Catholic, they're not worshiping Mary.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk on that. Okay.
Yeah.
I got into some heated discussion.
Yeah.
With people I know. I'm not going to drop names.
Yeah.
And they're telling me that Catholics, they worship the devil.
Yeah.
Because they're not, because they don't worship Christ directly. They worship through these through these saints, right? They pray to Mary, they pray to the saints. They don't pray to God directly or Christ directly. Like, as if, you're a lesser Christian than we are. Is that? I mean, I think that's wrong, though. Don't you think?
I definitely think it's wrong. I believe Catholic brothers and sisters, they are brothers and sisters. I think there's Christian as any Protestant in the world, whether you're Baptist or Alliance or Methodist or whatever. I think they're Christian too. Yes, some of their beliefs might be a little different, but you look at it, 90% of it, 85% of it's the same.
Correct.
It's just those little small things that everybody argues about. But then after you look at it, like, does that change your salvation? No, it does not.
Yeah.
And so stop talking about the petty stuff. And let's look at the big picture. That God loves us all, and we should be part of that family.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I tell people this too. All right. It's like Catholics, they still believe in Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And that Jesus died on the cross. And he saved us on that cross, right? If you go to the heart of everything that we do, Christian, is that for me, right? It's that message, is that he saved us on that cross, okay? His blood was spilled for everybody. Catholics believe that, United Methodists, Free Methodists, Baptists, Lutheran, whoever it is, they believe that principle of it. And that still that connects us all.
Exactly. I mean, this is a person. They went up to Christ. He said, "Hey, Christ, what is the two rules that we should follow above everything?"
Yeah.
And Christ said, "You didn't say anything about salvation, not really." He said, "Number one, you love God with all your heart and all your mind, right? All your soul. Number two, love your neighbor as yourself." Catholics do that. Protestants do that. This is what connects us. And for me, it's that simple.
See, they don't.
Yeah,
I would agree. But have you had these discussions with, like, when you're in the monk churches or other churches where they're like, "Hey, Catholics are bad and they're evil and they shouldn't." Like, have you had discussions with them?
Oh yeah. You think it's bad in the monk community? I'm sorry about non-monk churches, but it's really bad in non-monk churches.
Oh, it is, huh?
Yeah. It's people will tell about. Yeah, but I got married to this guy. My family basically disowned me.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Even today, I won't get too much into it, but then I did a funeral for a person, and half the family didn't come because he was Protestant.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were Catholic. And so it's like, wow, you think that there's something like old school times, like we're talking about Northern Ireland or something.
Yeah.
No. It's happening in small town in Wisconsin, And I was really blown up at the monk church when it comes to denominational fights like that. We had nothing on them. And so
that's good to know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
It's not good to know.
Yeah, that's
not good to know. But it's to me, right?
Yeah.
Because my wife is Catholic, and so sometimes I get some blowback. It's like, oh man, like when I tell people, my wife is Catholic, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm like, whatever. I'm just gonna kind of zip it. I'm like, okay, cool. Hey, I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, we can talk about that forever, but we're getting close to our time.
Okay.
But before I let you go, all right. And I was close in calling you Pastor Tou Yeng.
You call me whatever. Just to call me square word. That's
all right.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
A few fun questions, okay? You ready?
Okay.
All right. Lord of the Rings or Matrix?
Oh, definitely Lord of the Rings.
All right,
Yeah.
it's coming up. The
No, let's not talk about that. That's gonna make me sad. I don't think it's gonna be really good, to tell you the truth.
it's all hype. You know, it's like the #1 view, like on YouTube or something like that, because like that preview or that trailer.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, but then see, the thing is that people do watch the movies, don't read the book, and people who read the book, some of them don't watch the movie. And so, if you're out there, and you're one of these two, please do both. Do both. That's why I recently did and changed my life.
Okay, Marvel or DC?
I'm more of a Marvel guy.
Yes!
Yeah.
Yes!
But then I heard that DC has like deeper storylines and stuff like that.
Okay, okay, it depends. Marvel, okay, cinematic movies better than DC in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to cartoon animated series, DC hands down.
Oh, okay.
Because if you ever watched these DC ones, it's dark. It's like it's emotional.
Yeah.
You know, I watched the one that got to me was when Flash went back in time and he met the alternate Batman who was Bruce Wayne's dad.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, sorry, spoiler alert. I guess whoever's listening.
Yeah.
So and then he comes back to the present time and he talks to Bruce and like, I met your dad. You know, and I was like, wow. You know, and Batman having a son.
Wow.
Right? Did you know that?
Oh no!
You don't follow DC that well, huh?
No. I don't follow the lore very well. Everything else, but then like we talk about comics, the universes are so huge.
It is.
Yeah, but then it just tires me out.
Yeah. Well, I just follow the cartoon.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Okay. I know you're big on this. NASCAR or Formula One.
It's gotta be IndyCar. I love Formula One, but then people are gonna hate me for this. But then Formula One's for like the snobs, and then
like the rich people.
Yeah, the rich people, really high people, you know. And then NASCAR,
average guy.
Everybody sees it more like a hick sort of motorsport, even though I don't think it is. IndyCar's sort of like in between.
Yeah.
And so I love IndyCar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a Formula One kind of guy.
No, that's no. Formula One is cool too. Yep.
Favorite drink, alcoholic or non-alcoholic?
To tell you the truth, not alcoholic. It's got to be still orange juice. I know this comes weird coming from a pastor,
Former pastor.
But then from an alcoholic standpoint. And when I was young, I used to drink a lot of Samuel Adams.
Oh,
Yeah, Samuel Adams or Beck's.
up in Wausau, or here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, in Milwaukee.
It was any of our cousins that got you.
No, I have a lot. No, when you're in Wisconsin, you're going to drink. But then I like the bitter stuff.
Oh,
yeah. So I like Sam Adams and that. If it's something less bitter, it'd be like Liney Googles.
Okay.
Yeah, just Liney's.
If you have any superpower, what will it be?
That everybody will live peacefully.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very, very Christian like, very pastor like. Yeah.
If you were stuck on an island, who would you want with you?
There's only one person that could probably stand me for the rest of my life, and no, I'm not married or anything, and so probably be my brother.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
My brothers. Yeah.
Favorite actor or actress?
Yeah, this is just more from a crush sort of standpoint.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah. When I was in college, I watched this Korean movie called The Classic. Right? Every Asian person knows The Classic. If even though you're not Asian, watch The Classic. It's really good.
Is it on Netflix?
No, it's on YouTube though.
It's on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah. It's called the Classic, and the main actress, her name is Tou Yeng. You know, she's been my crush like forever. yeah. Even now, it's like wow, she looks exactly the same. Yeah.
Us Asians, we don't age that much, do we?
No.
Some of us don't.
Yeah. Most of us don't.
Let's see here. Most expensive thing you pay for?
Oh, it's probably my car.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I would say my taxes too. But then, yeah, probably my car.
Yeah. When you buy a house, that would be the most expensive thing you'll pay for.
Yeah, not looking forward to that.
And last, your favorite Pokemon?
It's gotta be Snorlax because
you're going old school, man.
Yeah, you guys gotta understand that. I'm starting to get back into the Pokemon game. So Snorlax is a reflection of myself. Sort of lazy, sleeps a lot, likes to eat, and so that's me.
Snorlax.
Yeah.
You know, mine would be obviously your typical your more popular Pikachu, right? Is it Charmander?
Yeah, Charmander. Yeah.
Those were the ones that I kind of grew up with, but I kind of stopped following it.
Oh.
So, all right, it's been fun, man.
Yep. Hey, thank you, Lee, for inviting me and just sitting back and talking. It's been really a joyful experience. Yep.
Yeah. Would you come back again?
Oh yeah, definitely. Just let me know.
Yeah. One last thing. One last question. Okay. Okay. One last question. Let me try to phrase this. Would you recommend someone who is new, who is young, well, not new but young, go into the ministry and becoming a pastor?
That's a pretty tough question because I believe that everybody is called to serve in some sort of way, whether in the church or not. But then, yeah, if you're part of the church, you feel as though God is calling you to become a pastor, I think you should at least, look into it. Have people, and definitely don't do it by yourself. I would say ask other pastors on their experiences, what they think. Ask other people to pray for you and ask God to guide you. Because if you try to do it by yourself, then you're never going to be really comfortable. But then if you know that other people are there praying for you and giving you good advice, then it will lead you down the right path.
Did you know I had one point in time thought about becoming a pastor?
I think I remember you saying that one time at church camp, but then yeah.
I talked to my dad about it. I talked to our friend True, Saint Gina, and
Yeah.
so he's like, "Well, you can serve in other capacity than becoming a pastor." I'm like, oh, "Okay."
Yeah.
So, not that he deterred me, but I decided, okay, maybe it wasn't anything that I wanted to do. But I do youth stuff, and I love doing it. So,
Yep.
Cool. All right. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us up to this point. If you like what you're listening, please like, share, subscribe, and click that thumbs up. All right. Thank you.